Okay, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started for the people that are here. And it's recorded, so other people will be able to watch at a later date or time. So thank you for everybody who's here. Justin Patterson, and then Dre Howard's the base vice president. Um, Throughout this, if you can, try to keep yourself muted unless you have a question. I am not shy of questions, so if you have anything, feel free to ask, raise your hand throughout whenever we're talking about anything. Um, Dre, do you have anything before I just kind of dive in? We have kind of an agenda of a few topics we want to talk about.
No, just thank you all. And please, whatever you learn or hear that you can share with your crews.
Yes, and there's a few topics that we really want to make sure everybody knows. So we will definitely tell you those too. The first one I want to start with is the latest IROPS that started at the beginning of this week, which there wasn't even really storms, but for whatever reason, the company continues to be unable to operate during. I don't even know what storms happened this weekend, but it was a disaster starting Sunday up until Tuesday. So with those, the one thing that we've seen is an uptick of everybody just asking simple questions, which is fine. That's what we're here to do. But there are a lot of resources on the APFA website. The rescheduling form, or not form, what is it? The reschedule reminders on the APFA website. Everybody should have that downloaded, that link downloaded, because oftentimes we experience the same questions, which, like I said, is fine, but start there. And then when people either get stuck or don't know what to do next, then that's a good time to reach out. With that, also, a point person is great because when it's a crew of four and you have four different people texting the same thing on the same sequence, it seems to stretch our resources a little more thin. So it is very helpful if we can appoint a point person, either when issues are occurring real time or after the fact, having one person be able to do it and say, hey, let's one person get the answer and we'll communicate it. That helps with everything. We have very limited resources, and when we're stretched super thin, I don't want anybody to not be able to get help that needs it. So it does help just what resources we have be able to be provided, I don't know, equitably and fairly. Dre, do you have anything more on that?
No, I agree. And also, if you are going to reach out to me and then reach out to Justin, please group text us, or it's best now to try to contact us through our base number, and we'll share that base number in the chat, because our reps can also answer too.
Yeah, no, it makes it a lot easier when it's more centralized because I get very frustrated when somebody's reached out to three different people and we're all doing the same thing. But I also then have two other people, waiting for my help or answers that I could have helped if I'd known. So that's just one thing that would be very helpful. Please communicate that. We're all in IROPS lately, so if that comes up, um, just keep that in mind. And truly, the reschedule and reserve reminders on the APFA website, if you can send that, like if there are IROPS and you see it, talk about it in your group chats, whatever, send that. Make sure people start there with questions because there are a lot of things that we frequently see that are basically the same question 10 different times, but could be answered in that frequently asked questions or something from that part of the website. Any questions, comments, anything? Okay. With that, I'll kind of lead into the end of January, there was Winter Storm Fern. That one was worse, obviously. It was the worst that I've ever seen, worse than I think most people have ever seen. People sleeping on floors, not getting hotels, tracking for getting people. I literally yesterday got an email back from tracking and said, sorry for the delayed response. And I'd sent it January 24th. So they are still catching up, and it is crazy. With that, we did file a base grievance. There's not really an update on that as of right now, but with what we've seen with everything I've gathered on that, our spreadsheets and our folders, the company for the most part has done what they need to, what they're required to contractually do, which is good. But at the same time, we have to hold them accountable with it. And Fern was a prime example of them dropping the ball, and nobody was answering at the company level. And so we took the brunt of it all, which is fine. We're here to support. But the follow-up frustrations that we all have and experienced, we need to communicate them to the company because they're not going to hire more people unless they hear from us. They're not going to hire more people unless they realize that they can't respond to people. They don't know the answers. They need to know what's going on. And they get away with not knowing anything because they know that Dre or Justin will be able to answer it or APFA can answer it. And that's not how it works. They are the employer. They need to help us when we have issues and answer the questions that we have. So that's the second part of the IROPS one with the Fern update there. Any questions on that topic? I know it's kind of the same. Okay. The Dre, anything more for that one? Sorry.
Nope.
Okay. Next topic we're going to talk about is London catering. Since the end of February up till now, there's still that double catering. It's gotten better the second half of it because they've fine-tuned it. I got a lot of emails from people and I'm here. I'm happy to receive them. But what I need people to do when you fly these London trips, if they are not working, let the company know what is not working specifically because I am more than happy to send everything forward. I will do it all day, every day, but the more the better that the company hears from you helps with everything. They need to know what's going on because Dre and Justin can say the same thing 10 different times, but they just think it's us saying it 10 different times. But if they hear from 10 different flight attendants, then they know that maybe there's a problem here. So the London catering was a prime example, and a lot of the suggestions that we sent forward were adapted, and I will give kudos somewhat quickly. I am still pursuing additional compensation for those crews. Chicago and a couple of the other bases that fly the London are trying to pressure the company. The contractual language for it doesn't force their hand too much on anything. I'm trying to push on the argument of what they could have done is add back that other flight attendant that we lost already. Even for a temporary time, they could do understaffing. They could do, an additional something. So we're trying. I literally called Bobby Wells again this morning. She was in a meeting. And with my luck, she'll call back when we're here. So we're still working on it. And, like I said, there's power in numbers. So it's not just Justin, it's every other base flying London who's pushing the same thing. So hopefully we're successful getting something for everybody. And it's just the right thing to do because I don't care if the contract doesn't say they have to do this when there's this weird circumstance. We are fighting for our lives in Chicago up against United, and Chicago flight attendants always go above and beyond because we know they'll just go to United. We don't want to lose anything. So the right thing the company could do is acknowledge all the hard work we do and thank us with something. And those flights are our most premium routes that we keep all year long. I mean, the people who are on those flights, the least they could do is say thank you for that in a little bit of a way for them. So hopefully we're successful on that. Dre, do you have anything there?
Nope.
Okay. 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 The next part is direct connects. This kind of loops into the IROPS. I went a little out of order, but direct connects, keep filling those out. And if you have questions on it, again, go to your manager, ask your manager. Why is the hotel one taking so long? I don't control those, unfortunately. I do send them forward when I get them, but let your manager know because when I've seen in writing a manager say something flippant of like, oh, well, I don't know, you're going to have to wait. Forward me that email and then I will forward that to the correct department because they have the same contacts we have. They should be asking for help for you. That is literally their job. And so if I have to teach them and, not throw them under the bus, but I want to teach them. And so ask for help from your manager. That is their job. They are there to take care of you. Any questions there? And actually, I'm going to jump to another part there, speaking of management, since I'm on the topic of that. The managers in June of last year, they did that restructure. We were promised experts. If you went to them for anything, they should either be able to help or know who to contact. We are hearing more and more. I don't get anything from my manager. I haven't heard from my manager. They haven't responded to me. I got one this morning. I got one yesterday. So what people tend to do in those circumstances is they stop trying because they feel like it's a waste of time. And unfortunately, it's not a waste of time. You need to still reach out to them because right before this meeting, a flight attendant did what I advised and escalated their email. They had not got a response for 2 weeks. They sent it up the chain. And so unless you actually are doing it and they are not responding, we can't point to those examples and say the company has to do better. So truly, even if it's a question of what's my pay scale, a question that you looked up and then found the answer to, your manager should know the answer to that too. How do I do this? How do I do that? Send them an email and ask a question because that is truly their job. If you don't get a response within a certain amount of time that you find acceptable, reach out to Dre or myself and we'll give you direction on who to send that to escalate it properly because we go down to K-19, in the evening and there's one duty manager down there and you can't get a hold of anybody if you call. That's not okay. There's 2,800 flight attendants in Chicago. So one person on duty is not going to work. So unless we're actually holding them accountable, don't just give up. Tell this to all of your crew. If you have a question, if they have a concern, everybody on there should go to their manager. And if you don't get a response, tell them to reach out, ask who to escalate it to, because the more that we do that, we can hopefully highlight that they aren't supporting us when we need to. So just reach out to your manager with anything. The questions that you have, the questions that we get, the questions that you ask each other on the line, ask your manager. They should also know these answers. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on word of mouth. Just ask your manager and escalate it if you're not getting responses because I want them to be able to help you as they should. And then if they aren't getting an answer that's helpful or they wrongfully deny something, then Dre and I can step in. But we don't replace management. They're the ones who employ us. So make sure you talk to them. Dre, do you have anything with that topic?
No, no, no. I think you said it perfectly. And, you know, when they came up with this whole restructuring, and we have three managers now, it's the stupidest thing in the world. I don't understand it, but you still can't get the help you need. And you have people who don't know you personally as our managers did in the past. So, yes, we need to start holding them accountable. And if they don't know the answer, they need to research and learn because we're also not here to teach them.
And what they often do is just pass the buck. Oh, I have this question. Oh, we'll contact them, which is fine. Maybe that's the resource or that's the department you should ask. Fine. But then if that department doesn't help or they don't properly give you direction on who to speak to in that department, you go back to your manager. That is their job to properly guide you to get you that answer. Are there any questions? If anybody has anything truly during this, throw it in the chat, raise your hand, ask questions. But that is one of the biggest ones that we see. Okay, Kim, I see your question. Shoving. They should be creating they shouldn't be, the carts should come pre-built for the most part, or thrown into the shelves, or like thrown in there to the shelves because the goal should be consistency. It makes it easier for them. It makes it easier for us. So if you're seeing something with that, I would fill out a SIRS report as well as let management know, especially the inconsistency, because my concern with that could be people hurting themselves. We shouldn't be building carts. So SIRS report for safety, documenting it from the company perspective, but also let your manager know so that way if it's an isolated issue, let's say in Chicago, they can follow up with Katie Conti, who is our catering rep. So definitely fill out a SIRS report and let management know, and CC Dre and myself if that's a consistent thing with that, because that should not be happening. And
Well, and
then
also, and I'm sorry, Justin, but my head went to they were also going to be ramping flights. So where are the managers that are ramping the flights that you can address to? Just saying. Let me make a note of that.
Yes. Oh, Katie Conti's gone. Well, okay, what is, you raise your hand. Go for it or throw it in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Thank you.
And truly throughout it, if anybody, like, just unmute yourself and talk. I'm not, I don't care about what, we all have questions. If you have it, 10 other people do as well. And thank you, Scott, because I did not know that that job was open. Of course it is. Okay, the next topic that we wanted to talk about briefly is ISDs, inadvertent slide deployments. There's been an uptick of them, not so much in Chicago, but system-wide. And we have seen a severe uptick, you all know it, of how the company handles pretty much everything and the disciplinary nature of it. So if you ever hear a friend of yours, something about an ISD, the first step is they need to fill out an ASAP report. And the ASAP reports, to be accepted, need to be truthful and express remorse. So if you didn't disarm your slide or your door for whatever reason, you were fatigued, you got distracted, whatever it is, make sure that that is what is in the ASAP. And then what are you going to do better next time? Get sleep, not do it, whatever it is. But make sure that your ASAP is correct, as truthful as it can be, because the company is so punitive in everything that they do that I don't want anybody to ever be inadvertently in trouble or expressing discipline if they didn't do anything wrong intentionally. Just make sure you fill out the ASAP. ASAP is a friend. It does not have to be just for when you fear retribution or getting in trouble. It's to express safety concerns. So if you have anything that is a safety concern, fill out an ASAP. It's a great tool. And if it's accepted, it helps protect from discipline. But even if it's not a disciplinary concern of yours, fill out an ASAP report. Okay. Dre, anything more on that?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I will say one thing on that, and I'm sorry, because we start to kind of see an uptick in the summer on ISDs. 9 times out of 10, they're on the 737. I get it, right, with the GERT bar and all of that madness. But I will say that a separate committee handles ISDs. It is not your like local base manager. And so please reach out to us when that happens so that we can walk you through whatever the procedure is on that. Okay.
The next part that I want to talk about, and this is truly not for anybody on this call specifically, but just to be mindful of out on the line. I put it in our mid-month base brief. Reserves, whether you're on reserve or not, I'm still talking about it. And we fly with people on reserve. We are going to fly with new hires who have started. They're at like week 3 now, the most senior new hires. Reserve can be confusing for them. It's a new job. It's a new everything. So please try to teach them whatever you know about reserve. If that's directing them to the APFA website or talking about just when they're supposed to acknowledge, show them proof. Don't just say it, because more often than not, we are seeing new hires who, and not even new hires, just people on reserve who don't know that they have to acknowledge their reserve assignments. We saw it. I had multiple people yesterday with it. So just anything reserve related, send them to the APFA website, talk to them, make sure that they know where the resources are, and just help them understand how to acknowledge, how to document, and how to read the reports, because those are helpful. It's like learning a new language, and we want to teach our new hires as much as they can, because the company in doc spends more time talking about discipline and what not to do than they do educating them on these systems that they're living their first 2 years on. And APFA is given 30 minutes to 45 minutes. That's not enough time to teach anybody anything. So please, just out on the line, have a conversation with them, talk about reserve, talk about the systems that we have to help them along with that, especially new hires on probation. I'm a big fan of screenshots. I do it for myself more than anything. For me, a screenshot helps me A, remember myself, and B, have proof that I did something. So if they're on reserve, did you screenshot your acknowledgement? No? Okay, well, maybe you should start, because if you forget or if you don't do it correctly, but you have a screenshot, it helps back up your story. And what I don't like seeing is people get in trouble when they don't have proof of anything, but they swear up and down that they did acknowledge it or did sign in or something along those lines. So please, please take care of our new hires, take care of the people who, need it, and work together with that. Anything else on that, Dre?
Nope.
Okay. And reserves can now use TTS. There was a hotline that came out from APFA, so that's an exciting thing. They can, hopefully that'll help with open time and just picking up trips that they want instead of relying solely on ETB. So that's a good one too. I want to talk about FMLA. There's also been somewhat of an uptick of people not knowing that there's the 72 days. So if I'm out on a consecutive leave, block leave for a knee surgery, I'm out for 60 days. It's going to use 60 days of your FMLA. That's a rolling 12-month period. So after that, that means you only have those 12 days left of FMLA. So what people do when they don't know this is they call out sick, they submit a recode, and it's not necessarily immediately, or it's not always being accepted because they're out of their FMLA days. By the time they notice it, they may have accumulated points. So FMLA, if anybody's talking about it on your trips, make sure you remind them. We have 72 days in a rolling calendar year, and ask questions if you have anything. So, if you're using a lot of FMLA, check your MyView, ask your attendance manager, reach out to Dre or myself. Make sure that you are doing it correctly, because I don't want anybody to get in trouble with anything. IODs, when you're out for an extended period of time, uses FMLA. So just make sure that you are keeping track of everything, because nobody's going to look out for you as good as you are. So don't assume the company's going to call you or walk you through it. They'll call you in once you get those points that they tell you not to get. Not before then, to make sure you have the resources. So just talk about that, monitor that, ask questions with all of that. Any questions on FMLA or anything, leaves, points? Raise your hand or throw it in the chat. Okay, hold on. And then
Justin, I just wanted to add that IOD also uses FMLA, which is something that people don't realize. It runs concurrent. They run at the same time. So if you have had an IOD, it will use part of those 72 days. So I just want to throw that out there for people's understanding as well. Thank you.
Okay, and then Natalia, I saw your message about the CAM thing. That's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion for the company, but I will take that forward, because we have seen so many changes with everything that this is one of our big concerns that we see, is when people actually need help, they don't know who to reach out to because there's been so much change. And so I will definitely take that forward. There's several layers to the performance program. There's the manager, there's somebody named Crystal who's their boss, there's Dee who's her boss, there's what's his name, their boss. There's so many different layers, and they're all just, I could say more about that, but there's so many different layers. So I will definitely make sure to bring forward that so they can make sure to actually send out those AA emails when there is a change of management, which they should be doing anyway. They shouldn't need to be reminded for that. With that, and I don't know if you did this, but when on Crew Portal, it should also show who our managers are when you click your profile on the top right. I've seen it where it's not always updated or it's just blank. So if you have a question of who your manager is, that is a good place to start. It doesn't mean that it will automatically be correct or even be there, but that is a good place to start. So if somebody has a question of who's my manager, who's my senior crew manager, who's my performance manager, look there. But ultimately and also if you have questions, Fashana Whitman is the base manager. You can just go to her with anything. That is what she is charged with is managing the base. So if there's ever a concern or unknown, start there. And yeah, does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, it's more of just keeping it like if there was a prior issue or anything that, or something that was being handled that hasn't been completed, more of keeping it together if there was a change to kind of like either have them in a loop of like, hey, this is what's happening, or just like a small communication like, hey, your new manager is so and so now, and it's been forwarded to them, sort of thing. So we're not just constantly repeating ourselves throughout, communication.
No, and that's what they should do. They used to do that, but I
Mhm.
think there were so many changes that they just threw up their hands and said people will figure it out, which is such a sad way to approach, managing people when they're there to help advocate and answer our questions. We should know who to talk to. So we'll definitely take that forward with that because especially with all the new hires I was just talking about, they need to know who to go to when they have questions. Like nobody should be out there floundering or hoping that they can get help. That's just not the right way to run a business. So they should not be doing that. I talked about that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was hotels. The company is changing. I hope you all get the APFA hotlines, how they're sourcing our hotels. There was a hotline that came out a little bit ago that talked about that and gave some company contacts on there. Make sure if there are concerns about the hotels, either when you're there or if it's a new hotel or an experience that you have, fill out the APFA forms. Those are helpful for documentation. But at the same time, if there is anything that you want documented, you want the company to know, make sure that you fill out a SIRS report. You let the company know what's going on because APFA can't just send everything forward. They also want to hear from you. And I'll try to pull up that hotline and put it in the chat with the most information for the hotline that came out for the hotels. Because I don't want the company to just put everybody in hotels that are unsafe or not up to standard and nobody tells the company about it. Let them know. There are certain hotels we hear a lot about and some we hear nothing about, even though I know that there are issues with them. So please, please make sure you tell the company what's going on. They need to hear from you with that. Any questions, comments, concerns about hotels or Dre, anything?
I just want to say that American has a hotel department. It's not, who we call when we need a hotel. But there has been a change in management. I think they let go somebody. I think somebody left. So, oh well. But that may also have to do with kind of what's going on with our hotels. And they also have an intermediary group that told American they were going to save them, all this money, which makes no sense to me because you're going to save us money on hotels, yet we're paying you to do this. It just seems crazy to me. But I think there are going to be some changes, and I know that there are a lot of contracts that are coming up for renewal. So stay tuned. Let's see what's going to be happening with our hotel situations.
Yes, and I put in the chat the Michael Malul's hotline that he sent out. It has the contact information for the current person in charge of the hotels. What is it? They call it something. Procurement, who procures our hotels, and then gives a little more explanation in there. So please, truly fill that out. Communicate to people, especially if there's issues with a delay in London. Let the company know, fill out the SIRS report, fill out the hotel forms. We won't know unless it's documented correctly. Okay. I only have one other thing on here, and it's truly just a question or just mull over everybody on this call. The union has the ability, if you've subscribed to hotlines, to click texting as an option. I want to use that more. The example that I thought of is new hires who just started. Text them directly some reserve reminders that the union has on our website because, like I said, in doc, everything's a wash. It's just your brain's mush on that day. But it could be helpful a month later to follow up with them on stuff, and we can pick which employee numbers to send things to. So if anybody on this call, say it, type it in, email me later, different groups or ways that we can target that text message feature to help get information into people's hands, maybe before they even think they need it, that could be really helpful. To, I don't know, our base to document, to get people information. And so just think of different ways that what you maybe would like to get randomly out of the blue from the union that could help you do, I don't know, not your job better, but help you with questions you've had or experiences you've had and how you could best handle them. So if anybody has anything on that, let me know. I have a couple ideas, but I figured I would ask the group today. And if there's anything, follow up, send me an email, put it in the chat, send Dre an email, a text, I don't care. The more the merrier. So Dre, anything more there that you can
Nope.
think of? Okay. That was my 8, 9 hot topics that I wrote down. And I talk fast. I apologize, everybody, but that's what I wrote down there. Are there any questions from anybody here? Any topics that they want to talk about or concerns? If not,
I'll answer to Scott too, because it's remind our base flight attendants about being on time for briefings. Is that primarily probationers? Because if so, we can talk about that in NDOC. Yeah, we can now.
Okay, great. No, thank you, first of all, both of you, for what you do. I appreciate that, as I'm sure everybody does. Yeah, I had a conversation with Nick, my manager, as Jennifer flies purser, I fly purser. Here we are, once again, at the very beginning. There are some things that should possibly be reiterated to our fellow team members about, being on time. The things that we have to do as lead flight attendants and pursers, which company really, as you know, is leaning on. Simple things like what we can actually expect if we don't have it on an IPD trip, i.e. dry ice or ice creams that are melting because we have a 3-hour delay. What is really on that catering truck? Is there bread? Are there snack baskets? Do they have water? Do they have ice? And quite honestly, Nick did not know. He said he would talk to Foxconn about it, and catering, as you know, on the weekends, especially the Caribbean trips that I fly, maybe Jennifer as well.
You're kind of going in and out, in and out. It's a little garbly.
Sorry about that, but the catering on the weekends is bad on the Caribbean, and I've talked to Nick about that, and I've talked to people about what, again, we can expect as pursers or leads that we waste our time asking for that are not going to be on that truck when we have these delays and things that will be happening. So I made them aware of it, always trying to be proactive. Katie left in December, went to premium services. The position has been open for almost 4 months. That was a disaster. But that being said, as we approach IPD here in Chicago and with all the new hires and things like that, I think there really needs to be a focus so that we are not stressed with wasting our time asking for things we're not going to get, support we probably won't have. Let's bring those forward to local right now so that they can get on it beforehand instead of reacting to the things that will be coming our way. My opinion.
no, thank you. And with that, I'm a big fan of like one pagers, I call them, like bits of information. I think that's something that K-19 should have more of down there for it's your first IPD flight. Here's something for you. Or you just started, that the pursers can pick up down there. And if you see you have a probationer. So that's a good idea and something that we can encourage the company to create. And that way as pursers and just everybody on those IPDs, you kind of know a little bit more because we are going to have, new hires out there who've never done it and don't know anything yet. And that's not their fault entirely. So we got to make sure to take care of them. So that's a good idea with that. And then, yes, Kim, I did hear something about uniforms coming as well, which the company, not like they have anything more important to be dealing with instead of watching our uniforms. I don't disagree. It's a uniform, we should wear it. But at the same time, we have a lot of other issues. And so I'm curious how that goes. With the uniform checking that allegedly is coming, what I'm most curious about is if there will be consistency from the company. So if Dre and we're on a domestic trip, we're up front and they get Dre for, I don't know, not having her name tag, but we have somebody in the back doing something, are they checking everybody equitably? So because if one person's being investigated or disciplined or monitored, we should all be held to that same standard. So make sure that if you are on a flight where there's somebody being uniform checked, I mean, I don't want more people to be uniform checked, but it should be equitable. We should be treated fairly. So that's my big concern with that, and also just how they're planning on doing it, because I don't want the company to just say, Dre didn't have a name tag on. Well, did you discuss it with her in the moment? Did you ask where hers was? I mean, we've seen it before where somebody gets written up for no name tag but they didn't talk to the flight attendant and they say, "Oh no, I had it. It was broken here. If they brought it to my attention, I could have fixed it." So with that, I mean, that's a hard one, but I do know that I've heard something along the lines with uniforms is coming. So just I don't know how to best, address that in the moment, but we will see how far the company goes with it and just make sure that if they're doing it, it's equitable and at least documented. Or if somebody one time we had a shoe situation, take pictures of what you're written up for or documented on to show that it was actually not anything wrong. So I don't know, Dre, if you have anything on that, but that's kind of a weird one that
Well,
hopefully.
and it makes me nervous though, because there are like 14 items on the performance policy, right? We have an attendance performance policy, and it is everything from uniform noncompliance to a blown slide. And if you have two uniform noncompliance issues, could they put you on an advisory? They could. So that's why it really gives us angst when we hear this. And I had heard that too, that they're going to start doing more uniform checks.
Yes.
Mm.
I would prefer they focus on catering or, taking care of our airplanes, something along those lines. So, yeah, unless there's anything else, I do thank everybody for coming on here. This was recorded. We'll get it posted on the APFA base page. And I hope that even if there's one thing that you talk about on a flight that you learned from this and it helps somebody with something, that will make me feel that this was worth it all. So truly, if there's anything that you learn from it, take it forward. And thank you for the comments in there that we can take forward to the company and also how we can better, I don't know, assist everybody and learn from it. So thank you. Dre, do you have anything?
No, thank you guys so much. And you're good with reaching out to us and keeping us informed of stuff. So thank you all for that. And for, of course, joining today.
Yes, taking time out of your day to join. And my favorite part, well, not favorite, one of my favorite parts about this is that the company's always asking us to do meetings. I mean, Wednesday, I think we had 12 meetings. I loved being able to say, Friday, we have a base town hall because my priority is flight attendants. I'm here to take care of flight attendants. I don't work for the company. Well, I do work for the company, but I don't work for them. I work for flight attendants, and I just want to make sure that you all know what you need to know. So that was my favorite part with this. And we will do more of these. I'm thinking either once a month or once every other month. And I am also thinking of doing a new hire specific one just because, like I talked about earlier, there are so many. InDoc is such a mush of information that a week or two later is, a week or a month later, you're a little more attuned to the job and could be a good time to teach everybody. So, yes. Thank you, everybody. And I guess I'll end it with that. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.